Hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Sunday. It's Daryl here. It's bright and early 4 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. Okay, let me start at the very beginning. A lot of you probably noticed I've gone 2 days without making a video, and this is very unusual. I haven't gone more than 1 day without making a video in over 2 years since I had this channel. So a lot of you might have wondered what was going on. One thing I noticed too was the last video I made was about my recovery, things that go through my head. And it was just coincidence. I looked at that and I was like, oh man, I have to, even though I'm not feeling 100% right now, I was like, I have to get out and make a video. I haven't checked the comments yet, but I was concerned that other people might be concerned that like maybe I had a relapse or something like that. If you look at my last video and you watch it and then all of a sudden I disappear for 2 days, those two things together, they're not connected at all. I had a fever. You guys don't need to know the specifics, believe me, but I'm feeling marginally better today. Some kind of flu or something. I don't know. Anyway, let's get into this. All right. I was going to talk about the Trump rally today. The Trump rally that happened in Des Moines, Iowa, right? I don't even know what to say about this. First of all, I'm going to have links down below. I started looking at all the lies, the basics, almost every other thing he said, or everything he said was dishonest or twisted or whatever. Of course, he just went on and whined about the election being stolen from him. Like I said, I'm going to have links down below because there's just so many dishonest, untruthful things that he talked about that I can't even list them all. He talked about something that happened supposedly in Virginia with babies. This caught my attention. I never heard of this before. The governor there, Northam. I'm sorry if I don't get that right. I'm going to have links to that down below. But Trump said that there was some kind of medical procedure being performed in Virginia having to do with babies, and I was like, this obviously can't be true, and it's not. It's a very twisted interpretation of what really happened. Of course, he talked about the election being stolen from him. That was one of the biggest things he whined about. He whined about the generals being woke. The country's going to turn into socialism, communism. The Democrats are going to take everything. Nancy Pelosi's a nut job. They're going to take everything you own and give it to other people. I've talked about this before. This is like the biggest fear of Trump supporters. They think that it's always about other people taking what's theirs. I don't know, man. I don't know. So, okay, let me get to the basis of this video right here. I talked about this before in another video. All right. If I see something, I'm going to talk about it. In another video, I talked about, you see Trump in these rallies, and right behind him are usually the entire crowd. I always look at the crowd when I watch these videos to see who they are. And look, I'm gonna generalize here. I'm gonna stereotype, but usually it's an overweight 40, 50, 60-year-old crowd. The women are usually short-haired blondes. The guys usually have goatees, they're bald, they're overweight, they all look angry, and they're almost all Caucasian. Every video I watched of this rally was just white faces from one side to the other, all right? Except for directly behind Donald Trump. Again, I talked about this in another video, that, I always do this. I always wonder, who in their right mind? This rally went on. This guy rambled for 2 hours, almost 2 hours, just unhonest claims, and he uses these voices that just it makes me want to stick an ice pick in my ears. And I wonder who can look at this guy in their right mind and say, I love this guy, I'm going to vote for him. I don't get it. I've told you guys that before. So I always look at the crowds. I always look to see who is supporting this guy. And it's always Caucasian, okay? Except for directly behind Trump, we have the Blacks for Trump. It says right on the t-shirt. It's a white t-shirt with black letters. Blacks for Trump. And then it says a little something underneath that. And I talked about this in another video. And they are perfectly centered behind him. The face is right behind his shoulders. Couldn't be any squared off perfectly with the t-shirts. So you could read Blacks for Trump, you know. Tell me that's not... Okay, I always use empathy, right? If I ever saw, say, like a Native American with a headdress, you know, something that was being like stereotypical. I mean, these guys proclaiming I'm black and I'm for Donald Trump. If I saw like a Native American trying to look Native American there, like with a headdress or something, and said Indians for Trump, I would be ticked. I'd be pissed, to be honest with you, man. That would bother me. I would think that people are trying to use my people of my race for their own benefit. That it would piss me off. So I can only imagine, like I said, I can only imagine. I don't know how African American people feel when they see this, but I know how I would feel if it was a similar situation. So again, in yesterday, this time there wasn't like, last time there was like 5 or 6 or more, 7 or 8 African American people with Blacks for Trump lined up perfectly so it could, and then those are the only African American faces I saw in the entire crowd last time. Same exact thing this time. Same exact thing. So I suppose by coincidence, when they're handing out tickets, the only African Americans out of like these 20,000 people are just happen to be seated directly behind Donald Trump, directly in front of the cameras. Like I said, man, if it was a similar situation with me, it would tick me off. It would make me angry. I'd feel like they're trying to use people of my origin, people of my, no, it's not nationality, my race. It would bother me. All right, now that's what I was gonna talk more about this, but I came across a story about an African American man, Clifford Owensby. I hope I got that name right. This just happened on September 30th in Dayton, Ohio. Now, I'm going to have the links and I'm going to have the video down below. I just saw this morning and it bothers me. It does more than bother me. Okay, this African American man, Clifford Owensby, gets pulled over. Apparently, he was observed leaving a drug house and they were going to do an open air sniff, whatever the hell that is, of his vehicle. So that's why he was pulled over. All right, African American man with dreadlocks driving, and I believe there might have been a 3-year-old child in the back of the car. He might have been properly in the seatbelt in the seat, or maybe not. I'm not sure. That's not clear to me, but that's not really part of the story. He was pulled over because he was seen leaving a house and he might have priors for this too. I'll get into that more. Whatever he was pulled over for does not under any circumstances explain what happened to him next. So he's a paraplegic. Now paraplegics can drive cars. They have the levers on the steering wheel. And the officer comes up and tells him now I'm not sure how they got to, if you're pulled over, I don't understand how they got to the point where they want him to get out of the car. If they're just doing this open sniff thing, did they detect anything? Because there was no illegal substances found in the car. So how did they get to the point where they're pulling him out of the car? I don't even understand how they got to that point. He tells them that he's a paraplegic. Look, dude, I can't get out of the car. I can't walk. I'm a paraplegic. And the cop is saying, you're going to get out of the car or we're going to take you out of the car. And then the officer offers to help him get out of the car. And Clifford Owensby says, you're not touching me, man, And I don't blame him. In this day and age, with COVID and everything like that, I wouldn't want strangers manhandling me, cops pulling me over and then trying to lift me, I think when you're handicapped too, it's a matter of, it's I don't want to say, pride, but, I can understand why he refused. For an officer to touch his physical person and pull him out of the car. So he makes a phone call and he calls to some of his family or friends or whatever down the street. Come up here with cameras. He wants them to film this. I'll just get to the chase here. And the video's down below. The cops grab him by the shoulders, the arms, and then grab him by the hair, the dreadlocks, and drag a paraplegic who has, at that point, had not committed any crime whatsoever, dragged a handicapped paraplegic out of the car and onto the street. And like I said, the video's down below. The thing that kept going through my mind, if this was a 50-year-old Caucasian woman, would this be happening? Would they do that? This driver, Clifford Owensby, he wasn't being combative. He didn't show anything dangerous, no dangerous movements. He was actually, from my point of view, he was being polite. He was informing the officer that he was a paraplegic, and if he was going to get out of the car, he wanted his people, his family, or whatever, people he knew. If you're going to put hands on me, especially, like I said, when you're handicapped, and, I could understand how he doesn't want, strangers doing this, helping him, intimately touching him. I don't blame him for this. But then they drag him out by his dreadlocks. Again, this was in Dayton, Ohio, and supposedly there's an investigation into this or whatever. But again, I can't believe the cops are still doing this kind of thing. If this had, like I said, if this has been like a older Caucasian woman, or a handicapped person, dragging a handicapped person out of the car by their hair, I can't help but think, an African American man with the dreadlocks and everything. It's a troubling video to watch. All right, you guys, let me know what you think. Like I said, all the links will be down below. I'm going to be back later. I'll have a better video, I promise. I'm feeling better with every minute that goes by, and I'm back on track, and I'll have another video later. You guys have a great Sunday.